Today we're jumping into the pros and cons of living right here in Vista, California. We're gonna dive into everything you need to know, good, bad, so that you can figure out if this is a spot for you. Right now, I'm actually at my brother's house who lives in Vista. We've got the chicken coop right behind us, which is, we'll dive in and we'll share some of the pros and cons of, different areas of Vista and all that kind of stuff. But I was also chat with my brother and my sister-in-law. They gave me some good details too on some pros, some cons, some other things I didn't think about as I was getting ready for this video. So we're gonna tie those in as well, but let's get into it right now. So we're starting off with the cons, because if these are deal breakers, you can just press stop, watch the next video, maybe check out some other cities right around. So first con is going to be infrastructure and age of Vista as a whole. A lot of Vista has yet to see a lot of revitalization as we've seen in other cities around here. It's old school. Some of the areas as you cruise around, you're like, that definitely has some age. And this goes for homes, this goes for businesses, this goes for everything. So now certain areas like Main Street, downtown Vista, Vista Village, that whole area, that's seen the most growth over these past few years, where you're getting some revitalization where like Main Street was the original kind of downtown area of Vista. Right across the street, you have some newer commercial areas with some restaurants and Fraser Farms and Swami's and a Lowe's over there. And then you have up Santa Fe, where you've seen a bunch of apartment buildings. They're redoing that whole corridor right there. So that area has seen some growth and some revitalization. And even as you're going down the main streets and checking out strip malls and this and that. Now there are a few new places, which we get into here in a bit, but a lot of those areas do still have kind of that old school feel where they're maybe a little bit older, they're a little bit dated, all that kind of stuff throughout a lot of areas of Vista. There's gonna be some industrial districts up Santa Fe to the middle section of Vista. There's gonna be a bigger commercial district in kind of that southern portion of Vista where we have some of the best breweries right here, which we'll get into in a little bit as well. And then different areas where we are right now, kind of in the foothills area. There's a few new shopping centers. We have a Sprouts over there, but as you go further out, it's like an old school Elks Lodge out there. There's like a feed store out there, which my sister-in-law was telling me about, where they go get their feed for their chicken. You got a lot of that older infrastructure. And that goes with the streets too, a lot of wear and tear. There's a lot of side roads here, so not a ton of main ways to get around, which kind of goes into our next con here in a minute. But like this northern section of Vista, you're not gonna find like a lot of sidewalks, a lot of that stuff. Now, as I was driving in here, I did see people, pushing baby strollers, kind of cruising around. My brother and sister-in-law say they're seeing more of that as, we've seen a little bit of turnover in this section of Vista, but you'll actually see a difference as you're cruising down the road where the city of Vista stops and the county of Vista starts. So in general, a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the vibe of Vista is gonna feel a little bit older than some other cities right around here. Before I get into the second con, I gotta tell you, so I grew up in Vista. I lived here for a few years. My parents grew up here, went to high school here. My grandparents lived here forever. So I love Vista, so all these cons are like, I kind of had to dig a little bit, but I just have a really soft place in my heart. It's one of my favorite cities around here. It's a little bit less well known. We had some clients who were out and about looking around. They were kind of interested in a few other areas right around here. And as we were going through, telling me what they liked, what they didn't like, they didn't bring up Vista. I was like, you guys need to go check out Vista, cruise through there, dive in. They went through, we were texting back and forth the next day, and they're like, you know what, you're right, we love Vista. So as with any city, yes, there's gonna be some cons as well, which goes into our next con number 2, which is commute realities. Now, Vista, like I mentioned before, is a lot of side roads. So as with other cities, you're gonna find main roads going across the entire town, which there are a few here, but I think out of a lot of the cities here, just growing up, going to our friend's house, right? Actually only a few miles from here. Seems like there's all these side roads. We're always, you're not taking freeways going from San Marcos to here. You can, but it just seems like there is a lot of that. With that comes commutes and let's say jobs, okay? A lot of people, there's not a ton of infrastructure and that kind of stuff for jobs right here in Vista. Like I mentioned, there's the business park, there's certain other areas, yeah, there are jobs here, but it's like Carlsbad's definitely a bigger hub for that. So maybe you're traveling to Carlsbad for work. Maybe you have to go to downtown San Diego. Maybe you're going to Sorrento Valley, even Orange County, or if you're in the military, maybe you're going to Camp Pendleton. So all these different areas there's no real straight shots from here. So it's a little bit additional time to get around. So if you are thinking about commutes and you want to be within a certain time frame of where you want to be, Vista is going to add a little bit of time on that. The main freeway going right through Vista is the 78 freeway. So the 78 freeway is the main thoroughfare going east to west, and it's cutting Vista kind of in half. So if you're close to that, you get a quick shot over to the coast if you need to take the 5 north and south, or a quick shot inland if you need to take the 15 freeway, which is going north to south a little bit further inland. But all in all, it does seem like it's a little more spread out, especially with all these side roads and kind of little different ways to get around, which I kind of dig. I kind of like cruising around there. Me going to my house over by the coast might take me an extra 5 or 10 minutes to get there during the side roads. I took the freeway here and it was giving me about 33 minutes through the freeway. It was giving me about 41 through the side roads. So a little bit of additional time, but I kind of like the drives, cruising around. It's a little bit slower pace, but just remember it might add some time to your drive. All right, so now we're gonna look at some times, how long it takes to get everywhere. And I'm gonna bring it up from where I am right now, which is in the northern section of Vista, off the main thoroughfare. So you're definitely going to the freeway. But right now, to get to Oceanside, get to the harbor, you're looking about 27 minutes. Now, if you're headed to Carlsbad Village, you wanna go date nights, you wanna go check out Campfire, you wanna go to Pizza Port down there, maybe just even wanna go to the beach down there. As of right now we're talking, it's just about noon on a Thursday. So no traffic. If you're going weekends, if you're going times that take a little bit longer, it's gonna take a little bit longer, obviously. But to Carlsbad Village, you're looking about 24 minutes. Now you go to the harbor, you go to Oceanside. If you want to go downtown Oceanside, there's a bunch of new cool places down there. But another coastal city just to the south, downtown Encinitas. You also have Leucadia. As of right now, you're gonna shoot down the 78 freeway and then you're gonna go south on the 5. Right there, you're looking about 38 minutes. To the north gate of Camp Pendleton is 30 minutes, no freeways. You're just going a bunch of side roads and I guess side-ish main roads going up there. Now this is important, especially if you gotta commute a lot. If you are commute, I mean like fly, if you gotta go to work, if you're working remotely or any of those things. The airport, right now we're looking about just over an hour to the airport. There's a little bit of traffic as you're going down the 5 freeway. And you'll find traffic here and there. So if you're leaving earlier, it might be a little quicker. If you're leaving not during rush times, it's obviously gonna be quicker, but it is a little bit of a trek to get down there. And if you're going up to Orange County, now I'm just gonna give you the very southern portion of Orange County, because depending on where you're going, if you're working up there, if you have family up there, any of that kind of stuff, you're looking about 42 minutes. That's just to San Clemente, which is the first city once you get out of Camp Pendleton. But it's a little bit closer. There's also an airport a little bit further up north up there, so it could be another option as well. Now another con is limited nightlife. If you want action, if you want a lot of that, you know, party atmosphere, if you want a lot of that stuff, this is not the spot. It's with a lot of North County cities here in San Diego. It is quieter. There's not a ton of nightlife. A lot of the scene up here is a lot more laid back. There's a lot of breweries, which I'm gonna get into later on. There's obviously beaches if you're going down there, just on your property too, especially in North Vista here, where you have some space, which tease that could be a potential pro. You're looking more towards downtowns, North Parks, kind of Hillcrest, like those areas surrounding downtown. Or if you want to be closer to any of the coastal downtowns, like I said, most of them are pretty sleepy. But all in all, that's one of the things that we mentioned on a lot of videos. A lot of these coastal cities right here in North County, San Diego, a lot of the suburbs especially, it's just quieter. And you're also not gonna find like a lot of trendy cocktail lounges or, you know, nightclubs or anything like that. Like I said, you got the breweries, you have a bunch of cool restaurants, especially like downtown Vista, that's kind of the main hub, and then spread out throughout town. Vista Village, you're gonna find some chain restaurants like Chili's and that kind of stuff. And then you have some parks. Vista's not the best known for parks. If you got kids, there's a few parks. I just drove through Brangle Terrace growing up. That's like where we used to go watch fireworks and all that stuff. Awesome place. They have disc golf there. Cassie and I were filming. It's probably actually 3 years ago now, but we played a little disc golf over there. But nightlife, this is the spot. Quiet, laid back, this might be your jam. Now this next con is super important, especially if you have kids. And if you don't have kids, there's still some importance to this next one as well, but is the mixed school ratings. Now there's a lot of options, which we'll get into here. And as a real estate agent, you can't dive into specific schools or, you know, areas or anything like that. So you're gonna have to do that research yourself, but don't just look at, I mean, do all the research. Look at grade schools, look at, you know, any of the other sites, you're gonna see ratings, but Specific schools, if you see specific programs, dive in. All of the schools around here, they have a report card that they do every single year. So you could dive into there. It's called the SARC, Accountability Report Card. I forget what the S means, but really dive into specific schools and, like I said, see what programs they have, but a few other options. So yeah, you got private school options, obviously, surrounding within Vista, so right around here, there's some options for that. There's also something called charter schools, so most of Vista feeds to Vista Unified School District, which is K through 12th grade. That's actually where my parents graduated, Vista High. They did that whole thing, so which is still here. Kind of with infrastructure too, a lot of those infrastructures, schools and whatnot, are going to be a little bit older. So that kind of goes back to one of the previous cons, but kind of goes with the schools too. But yes, with the options. So you have the charter schools. My nephew and niece, they go to a magnet school. So they don't go to the school that they are feeding to. They go to a different school. They got to drive a little further, a little bit of inconvenience, but they dig it, they like it, and it's kind of like an application system. So they do have a few of those as well right here in Vista. And why does it matter if you don't have kids, they're not going to school? It doesn't matter, just for resale. So when you resell, a lot of times, like if you're looking at different areas around San Diego, a lot of the areas that have, good schools or that are highly rated schools, all that kind of stuff, typically are going to have a higher resale value for when you do go to sell your home. There's not a crazy big difference, but you will notice that as well. So a little bit of importance in that front as well. But if you're looking at certain areas, you got kids, you don't like specific schools that are feeding to there, you've done all the research, you're like, I want some other options, there are other options as well. Now, before we get into the pros, there's also one in-betweener. This is pro, it could be a con. I guess all these could be pros or cons depending on how you're looking at it, what you're actually looking for, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are thinking about moving out here, you want to start that conversation so we can figure out your goals, wants, needs, all that kind of stuff, and figure out if Vista is a spot, dive into some additional pros and cons for your specific situation. We would love to earn your business. So you can hit us up, call, text, or email. We're the guys who answer the calls, texts, and emails. Have that conversation. We'll jump on a Zoom call, get you dialed in, and figure out maybe it's Vista, maybe it's a certain other areas right around here. But hit us up, call, text, or email, because we got your back. We'll make the move here to San Diego. All right, the in-betweener one is a division between North and South Vista. And North Vista, you're not gonna find a ton of HOAs. South Vista, like Shadow Ridge is the main area down there, you're gonna find some HOAs. So do you want an HOA? Do you not want an HOA? HOAs do have their benefits. Obviously, you're gonna have a little bit more structure in the community. You're gonna have potentially some community amenities, pools, maybe some like local little parks, maybe some additional things that are included with your HOA. With that comes some restriction, parking restrictions. There are what you could do with your house restrictions. There are all kinds of different things that come with HOA. So obviously, yeah, you're paying monthly for that as well. So you do have that. Now, as you go to the north part of Vista, now this is general. This isn't, there's gonna be some HOAs here and there too, but in general, the north part of Vista, when you're getting to the foothills, you're getting to Buena Creek, you're getting into those certain areas, a lot of those areas do not have HOAs. And there's a huge benefit there, but there's also some drawback. So I was just chatting with my brother and look right around where his area, he is looking and it's like, okay, no HOA, a lot of nice houses, but you get to certain, okay, you go to a house right up the road here and there's like a $1.5, $2 million house. Gorgeous, huge pool. They have it all landscaped. It's beautiful. It's just a really nice property. Then you look next door and it used to be a nice property. Maybe there's been some turnover, whatever the case may be. It used to be well taken care of. Some other people moved in. Now they have a big RV parked in the front lot. There's cars all over the place. There's trash along the side of the thing. So you get a little bit of that freedom, but you also have a little bit of what are my neighbors gonna do? You're taking care of your place. They might not necessarily be. And just even driving up here, you'll see a lot of that stuff as you're going through the foothills, Buena Creeks, a lot of different areas here in Northern Vista where there are no HOAs. So yeah, you can definitely, like here, my brother, he's got the chickens. They have a garden. They have, other things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do. They got their RV parked here. They got all that stuff. So it's kind of like, what are you looking for? Do you want a little more freedom? You want a little more space? You want no HOA? You don't want that monthly fee? Or would you have a little more manicured, a little more structure, a little more of that, track home neighborhood? That's the beautiful thing about Vista. There are both things. So if the cons didn't scare you away, what is good? What are the pros about living in Vista? And the fourth one is pretty important, especially if you're thinking about buying a home right here in Vista. So stay tuned for that. But first pro is the agricultural roots right here in Vista, especially in this northern section, certain areas of southern section off Melrose as you're going out there, is a lot of that agricultural feel. You're gonna find like little citrus farms, you're gonna find actual farms, or my brother and sister-in-law were telling me there's one of their buddies has like an actual farm over here. He dug a well, he's got a bunch of animals, he's got all that kind of stuff, not just chickens and gardens, they got like a full-on farm. So you have that agriculture charm, you have that kind of small town, rural sort of feeling in certain parts of Vista. You're gonna find other, like full-on farms, like Sand and Straw Farm in the southern portion of Vista, just right south of 78, where they have like community events and they have, you know, bring the kids out there, that kind of stuff. So they do have that kind of feel. You're gonna find some other areas like just a little farm tucked away in the little hillside over here. So it's pretty cool. You get that feel, especially when you get out here. If you're in southern portion of Vista in that Shadow Ridge area, I keep referencing that because that's like a huge tract neighborhood back there. That is obviously a totally different feel. But all in all, like Vista used to be the strawberry capital of the world. So they do have a lot of that feel still. If you are digging that vibe, if you're digging, you know, if you want room for some animals, maybe some chickens, lay your eggs. They just gave me they're like, we have so many eggs, we just can't get rid of them. So they have a little stand in the front of their house. Drive by, pick up a dozen eggs, whatever, drop in some money there. I just got like 2 dozen, so I'm super stoked on that. But you could have that all on your land. And then we checked out their farm over here and they showed me what they're growing. They got some zucchini, they got some strawberries, a bunch of tomatoes, just even some beautiful wildflowers like monarch butterflies floating around. So, and then my sister-in-law was telling me about the feed store right up the road here where you can get all your chickens, you can get all your feed, you can get everything you need. Their daughter just got this little apron thing where you could, as you're collecting the eggs, pop them in all there. So anyways, it's just that kind of feel, that kind of vibe as you're cruising around right here in Vista. Second pro is community events. Even though it's spread out, there's still a good community feel right here in Vista. Now, Foothills, yeah, you're a little more spread out, but I know my brother and sister-in-law, they know their neighbors, they know a lot of people around here, so there's still that neighborhoodly feel. When you get to Southern Vista, you still have obviously tract neighborhoods, so you're a little bit closer, you get to know your neighbors and that kind of stuff. But not only that, you got a bunch of community events. So in addition to the Strawberry Festival every year, they have the Christmas Parade, they have a Moonlight Amphitheater concert. So Bringle Terrace Park is right down the road, and they have this killer amphitheater where they got a bunch of shows throughout the year. I haven't been, but my mom's been. She's been with a bunch of friends. I know a bunch of other people who have gone and said it's awesome. They do plays, they do concerts, they do all kinds of fun stuff over there. That's right in the park, and it's kind of like tucked away. It's kind of hidden, but it's a super cool amenity to have right here in Vista as well. You're gonna find the Vista Viking Festival, celebrating Scandinavian culture. You're gonna find 4th of July fireworks at Bringle Terrace Park. So actually, I remember that growing up. So when I grew up, remember every 4th of July, we would go to Bringle Terrace Park. And they have 2 softball fields. My pops used to play softball in the fields down there, you know, growing up as well. But they played over the line tournaments during that time. They have a big hillside. I remember just playing all day. There's one picture of me. We were doing like a balloon toss contest, and I made the local paper here. It was pretty cool. But you're setting up blankets, you're hanging out, and then right in front of you, right in the park, you had the fireworks going off. It was just a really good memory growing up, and they still have that going on to this day. Now, if you're living right around here, there's certain areas, maybe you go up on the hill, maybe my brother goes up on the roof over here and they're looking at the fireworks because they're, you know, not too far away. But it's awesome community events. It's that community vibe, especially when you go downtown Main Street. You're gonna meet some local folk, you're gonna say hi, go into all the restaurants. A lot of them are owned by local people. You got some longtime favorites in here as well. So just go to downtown Vista, explore that. It's not huge, so you can go check it out, get some food here, go have a beer there, go check out this spot, this little shop here. But you do have a nice community vibe right here in Vista. So we got the sun moving. I don't know if you guys see, I'm getting in the light here a little bit, but the third pro is going to be a variety of neighborhoods, which I've already mentioned a lot of the neighborhoods. Southern Vista is a lot of that tract neighborhood. This area is called Shadow Ridge. It's a huge master plan community with a bunch of little villages within it. So Shadow Ridge is the main HOA, and then you're gonna find a bunch of different HOAs in there, a lot of single family, you have some condos, you have all that kind of stuff. But it's all surrounded by the Shadow Ridge Golf Course, which is actually a private, or it's a country club course, so you do have to join. But nonetheless, all that's right around there. So around there you get some golf course views. As you spread out from there, you're getting into like more rural areas where you do have that space that we mentioned, especially as you go to the northern part of Vista, where you get foothills, you get like Buena Creek. Buena Creek's an awesome area. So one of the clients that reached out through our YouTube channel ended up buying a home in Buena Creek area. And when you get back there, it's a lot of custom houses. It's bigger houses. They're a little pricier than other areas, which we'll get into here in a sec, but it is very cool. Large parcels of land, a lot of area. They actually ended up buying kind of, not new construction, but newer construction, a little infill community. Now with Vista, you don't find a ton of new construction or newer construction, especially in that northern part of Vista, but it was probably about 100-ish homes in this new tract neighborhood. Not new, but newer compared to everything else was around, because they wanted that style, they wanted newer, but it's in an awesome area. And that's how a lot of the new construction is here, where it's like this leftover parcel of land. Somebody, you know, you can't really build a huge master plan community, but you could fit a handful of homes in there. So there are still a bunch of open lots. As you're cruising around, you're gonna see like for sale signs and this and that. So you will find probably likely more infill properties as time goes on, but you're not getting like 5, 8, 9, 1,000 homes master plan communities anymore. You're getting these micro little neighborhoods here and there. But the rest of Buena Creek, like I said, a lot of character, a lot of cool homes. We had some friends who lived out that way. I think it was a few acres property. It was up on a hill, so you had these views looking down the valley. They had a pool, they had a spa, they had, like I said, a ton of other acreage. I think at some point they did split the lot into 3 or 4 lots and actually build 3 or 4 more homes on there and sell those off. So that's an option if you got a lot of space, but you do have a lot of that, especially in different parts. And then as you go through different areas of Vista, you're gonna find different homes. And for homes, it depends on what you're looking for. You're looking for a small footprint home with big space, they have that. If you're looking for a newer home with a lot of space, there's that. If you want like an older home, maybe you can put some work into it with a little space, you got that. You want track, they got that. There's just a lot of variety of neighborhoods right here in Vista. But one other thing on that front, this kind of goes, I guess, with the con, just because it adds congestion, it adds, especially if you're living around these parts, is a lot of the new construction that you do see, especially in that downtown area, is a lot of new apartments. So with that, you know, you're gonna have parking issues potentially coming around there. There's a lot of apartment complexes within Vista. So surrounding those, yes, more cars, more parking, more street parking. It just kind of spreads out from those apartment complexes. And that's like a lot of the new construction is apartment complexes here. And you're not seeing a ton of it, but if you're looking around, you will see a handful of those popping up around town as well. The next pro is super important, like I mentioned, especially if you are buying a home right here in Vista. And this is why a lot of people like Vista. It's kind of not forgotten about, but a lot of people who are thinking, I'm moving to San Diego, I want this, this, and this. And I know these cities because I've been to these cities. A lot of people don't go to Vista unless you have family here. Maybe if you have explored, maybe you've gone to Main Street, but you're not really getting out and about. But the pro here is all the access and proximity to the coastal cities, to the beach, to all that infrastructure down there, without the coastal price tags. So comparing it to other cities, Vista, the median price point, this is for single family homes, is right around $900,000. So you compare that to coastal Oceanside, if you're going there, you're looking at $1.2+ million. So a huge difference between there. But like I said, when we went over the times, you're about 20-25 minutes from that area. And the price difference just continues as you go down the coast. Once you get into Carlsbad, you're looking at like 1.6 million. As you get into Encinitas, you're like 1.8 million. Now there are certain other areas right around here where you can find similar price points, similar styles. So if you guys want to dive into all those, hit us up, call, text, or email, and we could actually show you some of these other areas that might fit Vista as well. But even today, I was looking at, it's like 76 degrees. It's gorgeous here. You're kind of right on the edge of where you're getting hot. Now, once you go further east in Vista, yeah, you're gonna get warmer, you know, this and that. But you're far enough towards the coast where you still get that Mediterranean vibe as far as the weather goes. You still get, there's a nice coastal breeze coming through here today, and we're pretty far inland, so you get a lot of that without the coastal price point, but you have access to all that. And another pro about Vista, and this is like, it's not gonna make you move here or make you not, but the brewery scene here is second to none. It's one of the central hubs in North County, San Diego, where you have a ton of great beer spots, especially once you get to the Sycamore Corridor, as Cassie calls it, where you have, it's just a business park district, but they have a ton of breweries back there and a ton of really good breweries. You have Dogleg, you have Booze Brothers, you have Pure Project, which is top notch. You guys want some really good beer, they have their hazy IPAs are called Murky IPAs, so you got that. There's Battle Mage back there. There's some other places, and that's only a few. There's a ton more back there. And then even in Main Street Vista, there's a few breweries down there as well. So there's a bunch here in Vista. And if you're a craft beer, you're capital craft right here in San Diego, and you want to explore, this is that great area to do it. Like I said, is it going to make you move here? Maybe not, but it is definitely a pro. But if you guys are thinking about making the move out here and you want to start that conversation, hit us up. We'll jump on a Zoom call, dive into what you're looking for, and we would really love to earn your business and help you make that move to purchase your home right here in San Diego.